Welcome to Grace Notes, the weekly community affairs show with Town of Yorktown Supervisor Michael Grace. I'm Bruce Apar of Chase Media Group. And Supervisor, maybe we should just immediately bring in our guest, our auspicious guest, Councilman Terrence Murphy.
Hi, guys. Thanks
for
for having
Terrence.
me.
Yeah,
It's good to see you. I'm glad to be back.
And as you were just saying, Terrence, we always start off with events, but as you're saying, this is probably the slowest period, right, of the year for municipal government in general. I mean, we always talk about, we talked about last week, the Lions Club concerts that August 18th.
Dance for a Cure, is that?
And that's the other one.
Yeah.
August 18th, Sunday, is the Capris at the DeVito Field, the Lions Club Mohican Lake Motors concerts. And then, as you said, Supervisor, Friday, August 23rd is Dance for a Cause at Yorktown Stage, which is in support of research for adrenal cancer that Ashley Bonner puts together, a young Yorktown woman who's done an incredible job with that. So, but this is a very slow time of year, time to relax.
This
right?
Saturday night is Aztec Two-Step.
Oh, that's right. I couldn't believe it. Do you know Aztec Two-Step? You're too young. You're too young to remember Aztec.
Young?
Well,
Yeah,
I know.
Aztec Two-Step. You know, there
I was
were
a music buff.
No,
when I was in school, I listened to Mozart and things like that.
Whoa.
Well, but I didn't have to listen to lyrics.
Amadeus,
So
right.
it was just noise that I could concentrate on studying.
Yeah, Mozart he's good. He rocks.
Yeah.
But,
Beethoven.
Yeah, so they're going to be at Yorktown Stage, right? Saturday night.
Oh, beautiful.
So anybody can go, right? Who pays, anybody can go. Right?
Yeah, I
it's a
think
fundraiser.
it's a fundraiser, but
Oh, yeah?
yeah.
What time?
Probably, 8, I would guess, something like that, 7:38.
Yeah, probably.
That's
It's,
at the YCC building?
Yeah, Montgomery Delaney, who's he's running for county court judge.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, good guy, real nice guy, big galoot. He's ex-cop. He's
good.
Big Irishman. You appreciate him. Got to be 6'4" and 200.
We'll need his muscle.
Yeah,
On the
but
Supreme Court.
he's also
right.
he's an attorney, and he also does I think he's cut a few albums himself, but I think he plays with and he's played with Aztec Two-Step
Oh,
in
so
the
he'll probably
past.
play
so
with them, right?
Yeah.
I'll have
So,
to try and make it over
So it's
there,
like
for sure.
I think they're pretty good. I'm trying to remember their
Big hit, yeah.
hit,
yeah.
but it's they were big in the
What, the 80s, was it? Or
probably 70s.
70s, yeah.
They were like a folk rock.
they were a big group. They were a very big group. So Aztec Two-Step live in Yorktown.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is actually. It is. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what, Bruce? If you don't mind, I love the purple shirt.
I get, every time I wear this shirt, I don't know why, I get
But
so many comments on it.
it's a reflection of what we had this past town board, our Purple Heart ceremony
Yeah,
that
yes,
we had
that's
on
right.
Tuesday. And you know what?
Right.
I think
Well, like
the
as
guy's
the-
name
as
was
the paper
Eugene
mentions it.
Lang and who was it? Neil Gross.
Neil Gross, who I know, and
Yeah.
Neil's a great guy, yeah.
And well-deserved. These
Yeah.
guys, I mean,
No,
like
they-
they said, our freedom isn't free.
Right,
These
it's a
guys
great,
have really
it's a great line.
sacrificed.
It is,
but
freedom isn't free.
It just popped in. That's the purple shirt, the
Right,
purple
yeah, it's-
hearts,
yeah,
and these guys
yeah.
are well-deserved.
Yeah, I'm well coordinated with the front page.
It was a nice ceremony. It was a nice little
I
ceremony.
know. Yeah, we actually, on the other cable show I do, I had Neil on last week. And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, when he speaks, it's very heartfelt.
Yeah.
It
was really nice.
I don't know. He probably didn't mention it here, but if you watch the show, it's on YouTube too at Townlink TV. He talks about his exploits in Vietnam. I mean, he was like the first vehicle into Cambodia. He was on the first vehicle, and he talks about how, of course, that's when the government was saying we're not going into Cambodia. He goes, and we were there when they were saying we're not going there.
My Uncle Peter, my dad's brother, 26 years in the Marine Corps, 4 tours over in Nam, and went to the orphanage and adopted a little Vietnamese girl, and my cousin
wow.
Jeannie.
That's
now a
great.
beautiful
Yeah.
little girl.
Oh, wow.
Two, was married, 2 kids, and it's like a chief warrant officer, which is the highest officer. Like apparently, you can come out of the military without being a general or something like that. So it was a little family history there with the Purple Hearts, and he's got the Ancient Orange.
Yeah.
So Uncle Pete's hanging in there.
Right. And then they have.
I don't know. Is he the one that looks like Kirk Douglas? Is that's another doing?
That's Uncle Joe.
Looks like really Kirk
Yeah,
Douglas.
yeah.
Wow.
Uncle Joe.
Spartacus.
He'll be there tomorrow.
Spartacus. Wow. And last Saturday in Peekskill, they had a Purple Heart Parade.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've done a great job in getting recognition. For
Well
that.
deserved,
Yeah.
these
Yeah,
guys.
absolutely. I know.
Unbelievable, the sacrifice they've made for us.
Yes, yeah.
No, and we had the ceremony was over here at the Patriot Park,
yeah.
which is by the old railroad turnaround, and hopefully one day we'll see that connected with Railroad Park.
Oh,
which
God, it'd
is
be beautiful.
yeah.
So you took a step towards that, right, last
Night,
Yeah.
yes. If and I guess a lot of people that watch this probably do watch some of the town board meetings, but I made my pitch to the rest of the board on Depot Square. Out there is this little bit of misinformation that really from Councilman Bianco and Patel. That this notion or innuendo that being sandbagged because they didn't know anything about it. We've been discussing this thing since over a year ago. We did actually. They authorized the phase one back last year, over a year ago. We authorized that phase one, and back in April. I talked about it in April 2012, and it was on the agenda at least half a dozen times last year.
Right.
And when I first brought it up, they kind of blew me off, and they said, "Fine, go do your phase one," and which was like $1,500, and they said, "Well, we're not going to bother with the phase two if it's going to cost us anything at that point," and so they kind of just blew me off. So the way I approached it was that we unveiled the plan with the Chamber of Commerce. To try to build, momentum and public support, which was overwhelming.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of great feedback, and so then it was time to pitch it to the board. And then last night, we
At a work session.
at a work
Right.
session, yes, and we wanted to go out for requests for proposals called RFPs.
Right.
To get the scope and price on a phase two for the highway garage site, which with phase two environmental assessment is basically you do borings in the ground to see what's in the ground, if anything.
Right.
Which was recommended by phase one.
Right.
After we've done our phase one, it was recommended in the conclusion that we actually go into and suggest going into a phase two to study the piece of property. Our town engineer confirmed that last night. Our town planner confirmed that last night.
Right.
That to go forward with the phase two.
Yeah,
Right,
and the idea is that the phase one kind of looks at the history of uses on the property.
Right.
As to what, if there were certain uses there, could it contain
Right.
something?
Affect the, right. environment.
So it doesn't mean it's there, but there's some probability or possibility that it's there. And the other aspect of it was to start to get architectural services.
Right. Renderings.
For the highway garages up on the hill, because they say, well, what's going to cost us? Well, if you want to know what it's going to cost, I got to go out and
Put
find
out,
it.
put out
Well,
a
that was my confusion last night a little bit of why I think two of the councilmen were just a little bit, why are we doing this? Well, that's how you do that's what you do in order to move forward. If you want to stop something, then you say no.
Right.
If you want to continue to move forward, you put out these RFPs
Right.
to figure out what it's going to cost the town,
Right.
what type of prices and things like that in order to facilitate moving forward. It's not costing our town anything. It's
Right.
not costing anybody a penny.
Right.
Let's make that clear.
Right.
The reality is just to get these RFPs out to figure out how much these buildings would cost and how much a phase two would cost.
Right. Yeah.
And these are recommendations that came down from, was it DEP who did the phase?
Well,
the phase one?
the phase one, I was an outside environmental consultant, but what happens is that on the highway, relocation of the highway garage and putting up the Parks and Rec building up on the hill, there would be Butler buildings, and there was some, the board wanted to know what they cost, and we got them some pretty good estimates on what the buildings cost erected in place. It still doesn't mean you don't, the insides have to be finished out, and you probably have to do some site work, although that site's pretty much already set. Because they don't require foundations; it just requires slabs and pilings for the struts, the building struts. So the quotes on Butler building, I say, you don't trust me, go out and find your own. I mean, you'll find out that it's between, depending on you can do some very fancy ones, with dormers and all sorts of things. But the basic highway garage type building is somewhere. The low one's $5 a square foot to $10 a square foot. At $10 a square foot, it's $360,000 for the big building and $20,000 for the smaller building, and that's at the high end. So, and $5 a square foot, it's half that.
Right.
But and the bottom line is you free up this piece of property here, and if anybody has, real estate, it's never the building that adds, it's the underlying value. It's the
Right.
property that's the underlying value. Buildings come and go, especially
Right.
commercial.
Number one thing in business, location,
Okay, yeah,
location,
okay, yeah, that's
location.
right, yeah.
What better location
Oh, no, there
than
is-
the highway
yeah.
department?
And so it's
What
a high
type-
yield property.
That is
right?
prime-
Very
High
high
yield.
yield.
It's
Yeah,
just
right.
probably
Prime premium
yeah.
money that the town could
Right.
get with, especially nowadays when we have people that are interested, you actually have people that are smart businessmen that know that the market's a little bit low that want to come in. Listen, we're not giving it away.
Right.
We're gonna actually, we have a possibility of possibly even making a few bucks on
Right.
this. And having a brand new highway garage with a facility that's going to longevity of our trucks, maybe having a washing facility in there for the trucks and maybe even putting parks and recreation up
Right.
there too. So
Right.
it's a really a dynamic idea that you have with
no,
regards
it's-
to, and I think it's great.
So,
and feedback.
So anybody would be hard pressed to come up with really a valid reason for opposing it right, at this point, right?
Well, I think I don't think anybody has any genuine objection. But with the objections, I can't even understand the objections at this point.
Well, Supervisor Siegel, ex-Supervisor Siegel, last night even said she was in favor.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the dynamics. The dynamics.
That's
right now,
unusual.
Yeah, right. It's the politics out there. Nick voted no. Vishnu voted no on the first vote, and then Dave Paganelli needed to ponder it for a little bit, and then he voted A, so it was a 3-2 vote, and then I guess after the 3-2 vote and some second thoughts, then we ended up being a 5-0 vote to go ahead with it.
Right.
Which I'm happy about it, because and the thing is that some of the objections were, well, if we do this, that means more than likely once we start to do that, we'll end up eventually spend the money for the phase 2 and for the architectural service, and it's true, right?
Right.
Well, I'm not going to kid you, but yeah, because that's the way you progress.
Right.
And the thing is that it's this Chicken Little thing that every time you do something to go to change something, that the sky's falling and it's going to be, everything's going to fall apart on you. It's just the mentality of that's, well, if that's where you are, then nothing ever gets done.
Right.
And what quite frankly, where's the leadership in the town? Where's your you're a town board. You're supposed to exercise some leadership.
Right.
And
where we were elected.
Yeah.
Right.
And this, for Councilman Bianco or Patel to say, well, they don't understand it or they don't know it or they're not familiar with it. It's all a lot of nonsense, because these plans have been in the planning department for months now.
Right.
And they all know where the planning department is, so if they needed to go over there and take a look, they could have taken a look on their own. They don't need to be spoon-fed by me on every other Tuesday night about what goes on. I mean, they can take
Right.
the initiative on their own.
And we just get packets, right?
Well,
of information
I was
before
surprised
every
that
meeting.
Councilman Patel had the objection to it, because, him with the Holland
Right.
Sporting Club, of all people, our environmental guy going up and making political hay out of a few pieces of wood, when there's the possibility of a substantial type of problem over at the highway garage, which we'll find
Which you're
out
trying to
whether it
find out
is.
about.
Right.
But we have our town workers over there, and it's our due diligence as town board members to find out where our town workers are working.
So why couldn't it have been done until now? Is there any reason?
It could have been the fear, and the thing is, it's all this little bit of knowledge. It's
a dangerous
the
thing.
The understanding that a lot of Yorktown Heights was a swamp, including the A&P parking lot, which sank for years and years. And the idea was that the town dump existed on that site, or further down from that site. But if you look at if you really look at the old records of the town, that's not the site of the dump, and this is something. But this is this is myth and folklore.
But you're talking about where the highway garage?
Highway
is?
garage.
Yeah.
If you go, you go to Patriot Park, which is
Right.
built around the old railroad turntable.
Right.
That's where they turned the railroad
The
cars.
skateboard park is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. That's where they turned. And the old turntables there. They uncovered the old turntable. They never got rid of it. And that's where they actually turned the railroad cars around to go in the other
Right.
direction.
Right.
And on the other side of that turntable was where the depot was, the station, the depot. That's why
Right.
it's called Depot
Depot
Square.
Square, yeah.
So, and that's substantially down the road from the highway garage. So if there was a dump, it was south of that.
Right.
You know, which is further down to, away from where the existing highway garage. Plus, if anybody wants to take a look, and you look at the highway garage, it's it's a obelisk or something. I mean, no, it's kind of a strange shape.
We talked
to it.
about that, rhomboid or something like that?
Rhomboid,
Is
yeah.
that a
Because
rhomboid?
it's got one facade
Those are muscles
that's
on the
angled.
Longer than, yeah, right.
And it's angled because it used to run along Underhill Avenue, because Underhill Avenue didn't make that sharp left-hand turn. It went straight across in front of where where the highway garage has its plows right now.
Yeah.
It used to
Went right
continue.
through, yeah.
Went right through there, and then up the hill past
yes.
Hanover. Now it makes this sharp left, and then you have to make the right at the light at Kear. So one side's Kear, one side's Underhill, the continuation. But that's not where Underhill was. And when you do a phase two takes a look at what's underneath in the soils, and then if you find anything, then you have to go to the next phase, which is putting in a remediation plan if you go to disturb the soils.
Right.
And the remediation plan is always dependent upon the end use of the property. So you have a different remediation plan if you're going to put residential
Right.
homes up where kids are playing in the backyard, so to speak, and living in, or if you're going to replace it with the manufacturing or,
Right.
or commercial use. So depending on the end use, the remediation changes. So the idea that you know, it's, you know, you can open up a can of worms. Oh, we got there. Nobody knows what we're going to do. Blah blah blah. You know, it's like, guys, calm down. You gotta take it one step at a time. And the first step is let's explore it. And you really have an obligation to explore it.
Right.
That's a good point.
Yeah, right.
And you know, not to go into a different aspect of it, but you know, how much do you think a phase two would cost us?
It's probably in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $25,000.
Less than 15 minutes before that, we had our outside auditors come in and tell us we're doing one heck of a job. The town of Yorktown is fiscally in fantastic
No,
shape.
that's great news, yeah.
We have approximately a $1.2 million surplus.
Well, we've generated over my first
Right,
term, my
right.
first year here, $1.2 million in
In
surplus.
surplus.
In surplus.
Yeah.
Yes,
So we
right.
went from a $3.1 million in surplus to now we're at $4.7 million in a fund balance, unrestricted fund balance.
That's
which is-
incremental, yeah.
Yeah.
right.
So, which basically means we have surpluses in certain funds which are restricted or designated that you can't take.
Right.
Special districts,
yeah.
that type. But overall, overall, if you look at say, general fund, 7 million.
Yeah.
Water, 6 million. Sewer, 6 million. So we're doing well.
Yeah, and this was, we were able to, you know, when we went into to my budget, we wanted to, you know, because it is tough times out there, we wanted to keep the taxes steady, and if we could, we wanted to actually decrease the taxes.
Right.
Well, didn't we do that last year?
Yeah, so we settled a PBA contract back
Right.
5 years.
Right.
Settled the CSEA contract, now settling the new CSEA contract. And what we decided to do is we were going to go to some fund balance, the cash on hand, to so that the tax levy wouldn't go up. And a matter of fact, it's the levy, which is what you know. At the end of the day, to balance the budget, you have certain revenue and you have your expenses, and you have non-tax revenue that comes in. And the gap between the non-tax revenue and the expenses has to be filled.
Right.
And that's filled by the tax levy. So I have my non-tax, I have my non-tax revenues.
Right.
And then the taxes, which should equal my expenditures.
Expenses, yeah.
So what you look at is the levy, because that's
Right.
and the levy is that difference they make, is the filling of that gap.
You want to keep that as small as possible.
Yeah, so we actually, our levy, we decreased the levy.
Right.
So, not by a lot, but we didn't go, it was
didn't
$500,000
either,
or
right.
something like
Mike,
that.
it's a decrease.
Right.
Right, that's right. That's
When's the last time the town
Yeah, it
had a
hasn't,
decrease? I don't care what it is, it's a decrease. And we're hoping that we're going to even do better this year.
Oh, we will, because we have, last year, we decided that, we looked at that special districts, which for some reason had gotten unnoticed by supervisors.
Right.
And we have had healthy surpluses in the special districts, which is, a tax, special districts with sewer, water, you get a tax for that, you get an assessment and a tax for those as well. So first year, we took out of those fund balances in those special districts. We need to keep the assessments down in those special improvement districts. And, we took a substantial amount, but we also did it conservatively to make sure that, at the end of this year, we'll see where that has left us in terms of the revenues coming out of there, because like the water district, you have water meters and you have other, and we're still holding a healthy fund balance in those.
Very healthy.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll be decreasing the taxes in the special districts and decreasing the taxes in the general fund.
So
this
that's
year.
for 2013, right?
Yeah,
You're talking about.
yeah.
We did it,
Right,
yes.
2014.
Oh, 14, next year.
Yeah, next year. So we should be,
Oh,
everybody.
I see taxes for next year.
Yeah,
will be decreased, right.
we should be able to deliver a zero tax or a
Another
decrease-
negative
a
I'm
negative,
looking for.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
I know
on
you
top-
are too.
On top
We'll
of
do
it, we also are going to finally do some of the capital projects that need
Right.
to.
You've been waiting for it.
Yes, it's been.
Well, we found out that, Nick, who's from O'Connor Davies, came in and gave us a preliminary audit.
That's the
on
auditor,
the
yeah.
auditor
Yeah.
on our preliminary draft of what we're looking at, and we're in very, very good shape. And we're in such good shape that we'll actually get a very, very low rate on our bonding.
Right.
So what we'll try to do, as myself, I would think about bonding as a significant amount of capital improvement projects. Since I've been on the board, I don't remember really making a significant amount of impact into our capital improvement projects. We're doing very well. We have a low interest rate.
Right.
That if we can take that over 30 years, amortize that over 30 years. We have a bond that's coming up in October of 2015 for our pool. Maybe we keep that flush for the next 14 or 18 months and then roll that right into, so we'll never skip a step. And the reality is, and then if you can take some of these bonds and put it into a serial bond, and then take it over 30, we're beautiful.
Yeah, and then.
Which pool are you talking about?
The Shrub
Junior
Oak-
Lake or Shrub Oak?
Shrub Oak.
Yeah.
It's the bonding for that is done in October 2015, and since I've been here, there's been a long list of capital projects, and by capital projects I mean basically the infrastructure of the town that needs to be replaced. It's not. It's one thing to pave roads, but you also have to make sure that the bridges are still going to hold
And
up.
culverts are done.
Culverts,
There's, and this is not to interrupt you, but this is part of the reason why Costco's going to be dumping $3 to $5 million into our infrastructure problem.
Right.
On 202. They're doing one heck of a job up there, DOT. Costco should be taking that right up to Strang Boulevard, and we'll figure out part of the flooding problem behind McDonald's and Mill Pond, that area, which has never been dredged. Maybe we can get the detention ponds and have a private entity take care of our problem.
Right,
So
yeah,
it's a give and take, So it's a win-win
But
for
we-
the
we-
town
we-
and the developer.
Yeah,
Right.
and so I think the board agreed last night that we're going to go ahead with a bond issue on the capital projects that have to be done, and we should be able to afford that because
Absolutely.
we have other sources of revenue that are going to come in this year as well. We'll be able to do that, I think, and
Be flush.
and do it
And be flush.
and do the tax decrease.
And still give you a tax decrease.
Wow.
With bonding out.
Yeah.
Well, what other sources of revenue you're talking about?
Well, at this point, they're a little sensitive.
Oh, you can't talk about
but,
them, okay.
They'll be coming in. I think we've got another close to $600,000 that should be in by the end of the year, and with that,
Puts us in good shape, Bruce. It
you
was
know,
really,
yeah,
it was
to
really
say the
good
least.
news.
Yeah,
It was really
great
great
news.
news for
It is
actually
great
the
news.
taxpayers,
Yeah.
our constituents that we represent.
Right.
We were elected here to try and, the number one pitch is the people's pocket.
Right.
And you talk to anybody, my taxes are killing me, my taxes are killing me. Last year, negative 3.62%.
Right.
If you had the sewers.
Yeah. By the way, just pertinent to Costco, on Facebook, I saw somebody who has nothing to do with Yorktown. He lives in New Jersey, and I happen to know him from my past business life. And he just happened to post something about we know that Costco gets very high marks for treating its employees very fairly with good benefits. Does anybody know about BJ's? So I don't know if, in their case, it sounded like maybe they had a BJ's coming into their town where they already had a Costco. But I just thought it was interesting that he made that point, because the truth is Costco gets very high marks across the board for their whole operation, for the way they do things.
To piggyback on what you just said, they might be thinking about if BJ's is coming to their town because there's a Costco already there. BJ's, I was worried about BJ's going out of business. BJ's wants Costco here.
And that's
like
how those businesses
McDonald's.
operate. They look to be near a similar competitor.
Bruce, it's like McDonald's.
Right.
McDonald's, if you see a McDonald's, you're
Right,
going to have
exactly.
a
A Burger
Burger
King,
King
that's the
or
way
a
it
Wendy's
operates, of
within a
course.
2-mile
That's right.
radius. You go up the street, you're going to have a BJ's, you're going to have a Costco. If you have a Costco, you're going to have a Sam's Warehouse. They feed off of one another.
Or look at, as you pointed out many times, wherever you go, but in Yorktown, happens to be 202, when you see one car dealer, you see 10. Right.
Oh, you see
There's
one
one
gas
car
station.
dealer.
You got to go to intersections. There's two gas
Right,
stations.
exactly. Right, that's the way it works. Right.
And the other thing is, and I hear this, about the Depot Square, and go back to that and say, well, why are we building new stuff when the other old stuff is still empty? And the biggest empty piece is
They're going to want to come.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, always.
It helps
Yeah,
businesses.
yes, it helps.
Absolutely. It's a halo effect.
I mean, the bottom line is if you have a storefront all by yourself, you're probably not going to get filled.
No, that's for sure. Right.
And to think, well, I'll buy
There's not enough foot traffic.
I'll buy the
Exactly.
property that's got the one storefront that nobody else is around, because they'll all have to come to me. And the bottom line is, why that storefront's empty? Because they're all going to where there's people like choices. People, it's funny because you have the environment, especially with the internet and internet purchasing, is that shopping is more of an activity, social activity, than it is a needs-based activity. So you want to create the experience, and where you create the experiences with streetscapes, architecture, a sense of community centers, and all this. So that's why it's very important to do the Depot Square, because that will improve the commerce and the market for all of Yorktown Heights, and probably all of Yorktown, and the property values of anybody in the Heights area.
It's going to go up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
All the homes.
And by the way, I could say this because I have no property here, but as I don't have to tell both of you, there were some comments floated around about, property values for your places are going to go up, and thinking, and how is that bad for anybody? Like, what?
Right.
How is it bad when property values go up?
I've never even heard that.
Yeah, no, I
That's
heard
first.
it, and I'm thinking.
Hey, I'm pretty smart if I thought about this
No,
4
but
years ago.
I'll be honest with you. I've been in my building now for, I don't know how long, 15, 20 years. And I'm very cognizant of what downtown Yorktown Heights looks like and what it feels like.
Right.
And every time and for 10, 15 years, I've always been disappointed, because downtown Yorktown Heights is
no destination.
It's nothing.
No, right.
It's not a
And
destination
it's
place.
an absolute change. I walk to downtown all the time, and I keep on thinking that there's so much potential here, and the thing is that you always, hopefully the Roma building, which is now the Zerka building, finally gets facelift.
Right.
Well, that will be significant.
Yeah.
But you always come across this god awful dumps in Yorktown.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
which is all town-owned dumps. And again, there's no Highway Department does a remarkable job in trying to maintain their property and keep it up as nice as it can. But it's whatever they do, it's still putting lace on a bowling ball. It's still going to be a bowling ball.
You got trucks coming in and out of there.
Right.
And then we have the commuter lot here, which was just never completely finished, the top coating of it. And every time I walk across the street, I see these 4, 5 rusted out, vans. The ass end of 4 rusted out vans, which is all the town senior vans. And I'm thinking, if we either paint them or but this is the other point. If you can finally get this stuff under a roof, a garage, it lasts longer. It looks presentable.
yeah.
I'm not repairing it.
Right.
It's all these things, and then we have this dump in the middle of Downing Park. And again, it's Parks and Rec, all their equipment, all their supplies. You've got a parking lot there you can't park in because it's filled with supplies. Why is it in the middle of a park?
Mike, on our tennis courts and the upper parking of Downing Park, we have plows
Yeah, I know.
on
Yeah,
our
that's
tennis
right.
courts
Right.
that are falling apart.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And
Because they don't know where to put them.
Right.
so it's like, what do you, when you put all this together, you're sitting there, with this, there was 3 other knuckleheads on the board. Now, absolutely, it's just amazing. This is what you've got, and now you've got, a big plot of land that you can centralize all this equipment, which is important even for efficiency of the different departments working together and everything else. You can put a wash shed up there. You can get everything under the roof. You preserve the equipment. You
Common
extend
sense.
their longevity.
Right.
Everything. It's efficiency on daily operations. It's longevity in terms of the equipment lasting longer, a significant time longer, being undercover. Why wouldn't you want to do it, regardless of what happens to the highway garage?
Right.
The thing is, that is a win situation.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And if it costs you, and I'm sitting there thinking, they're what's it going to cost? What's it going to cost? What's it going to cost? And then you just, that same evening, yesterday evening, we're told we're running a $1.2 million surplus just from this year alone.
Right.
And we haven't, and I'm going to tell you, by the end of the year, it'll be $2 million. And we don't even have to, we could buy these, pay these, put them up for cash.
Right.
So
Right.
the thing is that the whole idea is that, we can do this. And then what's going to happen, if we do that, it does free up that property, and that property will sell.
Location.
And I'm familiar with the property values, the commercial property values in the Heights area. I know what they go for
Right.
per square foot. And that property is going to be $10 to $15 per square foot, the land.
Right.
So, and you'll get somebody, and plus, it's going to always.
We'll beautify downtown.
Right, I
Make
know.
it a little destination place when you
Oh,
do
yeah.
stuff like that. The presentation, and then if you put the nice signs, if we get someone to come in, with Signs Inc. is willing to come in, do
Right.
that. Yeah. And you just put those signs where, engaging, inviting people to come in. Wow, there's
Right.
and it makes it a nice little destination place to get out of your car and walk around.
And also, as far as Downing Park, we'll turn our swords into plowshares and our plowshares into tennis rackets. That's what,
No, it's I mean, the things that, I think in the, what's it, in the Yorktown News, the town board put board to grace not so fast.
where'd you get that copy from? Your office?
And I think it's so, this is it. I mean.
Well, oh yeah, right. Not so
Yeah,
fast.
not so
right,
fast.
right,
And
right.
this has been the criticism that I've heard a lot, over my term here. And
Oh, you mean things about you jumping?
well, but the
Well,
you can't.
progressing. If you actually looked at our town motto, it's progress with preservation.
Right.
We have over 3,200 acres of preservation in the
Right.
town
Oh,
of
I know,
Yorktown.
right.
We should have approximately a 28% commercial base for the square miles, the 42 square miles of the town of Yorktown.
Right.
We have just about a 10% commercial base. So when CSEA and the PBA need their raises, the only place to get it is from your pocket,
that's right.
your pocket, and our constituents' pocket. And as our auditor told us last night, we did a heck of a job increasing our permits and our fees from commercial businesses coming in.
Right.
It was close to it was over $300,000. Not that we're looking to whack businesses over the head, but when you open up your arms and you do the progress,
Right.
we have a lot of preservation. I'm not against it, but now you got to have a happy median.
Right.
You got to have some progress. And if they're calling us progressing too fast, we have so much progress. We need to get this because people are leaving our town because they can't afford the taxes. So we have all intention of giving them another decrease in their town taxes.
Right.
In
But
case
it-
they didn't
but-
notice,
yeah,
they
and
got a
it-
decrease.
And it's it says, oh well, it's the general economy. It's not the general economy. It's Yorktown.
It's what you invite.
Yorktown has done remarkably well over the last year and a half. We've opened
Right.
up a lot of
Yeah,
businesses,
businesses.
and the proof is in the pudding. It's the permits and the permit fees and the building department, construction fees that was significant.
Our own outside auditor, without being political about this, our own outside auditor told us that last night.
Right.
And that is just the economic
Facts of
activity in
fact.
town. And a matter of fact, and I'm familiar with the real estate market. Yorktown happens to be a fairly hot real estate market at this point. That's not universally true.
No, not at all.
But
That's right.
Yorktown happens to be a very hot market right now. And so, and I attribute it to the fact that we're moving ahead. And the thing is that they may not like the fact that I've moved quick over the last year and a half, but the bottom line is, if I follow the old pattern, I probably could have slept the last year and a half.
Right.
Right.
And I was going to say that I think that's sort of the point. You're moving too fast relative to what?
Right.
That's the thing. Relative to what?
Well, the reality is that, there, and my feeling is, since coming on the board, I stated it 4 years ago, I'm your pro-business candidate. I will state it again come this November. We will continue trying to lower the taxes here through business revenue.
Right.
That's it.
But did that make any appreciable change in the percentage that's coming from commercial taxes? Still 10%.
Right, no, but the thing
Right now.
right.
But what the
future, right.
potential is out there, that now we've opened up our arms. We have people. We're not even. Most towns have to go out there and say, "Please, would you like to come to our town?" We don't even have to. We have people knocking on our door asking, what are you doing with that piece of property over there? What are you doing with that piece of property? Because it's been shut down for 18 years.
So long, yeah.
And
That's what I'm
and
saying. It's
people
relative.
know.
It's relative to not moving.
yeah, well,
Right.
one of the critics said,
It's been shut down for so long, and now they know there's people that are willing to actually help other businesses
Right.
get going.
Right.
yeah, and it makes a
They're
big difference. Ex-supervisor Siegel says, "Well, what are we doing? Is we don't have a buyer. We don't have a buyer for the highway garage property yet." And I said, "I've got inquiries. I get inquiries once a week almost on that from people
On that particular parcel.
But not only from people that want to, would love to come in and do the project." But people want to reserve space as tenants when the project's done.
Right.
They're already looking at that because of this location of it. They understand where it is and what it would be. And not only that, but I'm going to tell you, John Tegeter did an incredible job on the site plan. You look at the site plan and the public amenities that are included in that redevelopment. Yeah. It's going to be the big draw.
Right. It's a town square.
If you've
right?
been
It's
down,
a town square.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation with somebody about it's called the Martin Barn.
Yeah, I've been down there. Yeah, in Armonk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
beautiful.
yes.
Yeah,
I
it's
have been
beautiful.
there.
Right.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's
Modern
right,
barn
right,
is
yeah,
very
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
And you
yeah.
can. I mean,
restaurant.
this
Yes,
is
very
what you.
nice.
This
yeah.
is what you.
It's rustic. It's very rustic.
That's what I mean.
It fits the surroundings.
It's a little
it fits
eclectic.
the environment.
But
yeah.
right. And
Another. They have a wine store right
it's
next
it's
to
very
it.
nice.
And
Yeah.
if you're thinking that's a home run for us.
It's right on
right there.
22, right? It's on. Isn't it?
Forget. I don't. I
think
know
it's
how
on-
to get there. I don't.
but it incorporates the
22.
open areas to the outside.
Yes, right.
Outside dining, and this could be perfect for it. You're going to it's one of my favorite places to go to in town for ice cream is JJ Scoops. I love that little place on Keir Street. And
Yes,
but-
right, Keir
but
Street. They have outdoor seating,
Right, they got
yeah.
all outdoor seating. Plus, it's right around from my office. But I sit there and I have my ice cream outside, and I think, man, this would be if you get Keir Street to pump, get it up and pumping. And this place across the street, you'll just have it's just
Right. You could see the beginnings of it.
Yeah.
and you'll have this linear park that'll go through. It'll be a mecca for and people in the town, Yorktown. The benefit they're going to realize from it is that your property value is going to go up because you're going to be living in what drives the local property values is primarily the schools. The quality of the schools.
Which are great.
Right, and then
yes.
comes the quality of the shopping. Believe it or
Right.
not.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So and
I'll tell my wife that.
it's the truth. But
Are you watching, Caroline?
and the aesthetics.
Yeah.
So the aesthetics of the town. So if you get into quaint, nice towns, and this kind of not Orwellian, Rockwellian,
Yes, right.
Norman Rockwellian
yes.
type of Main
Right.
Street, you get your values go up, and this is what it could start to be. And it's long overdue.
Right.
Long overdue. And
Yes.
this idea of I had one comment, it was from Nick last night, who said, well, why don't we wait and see what the guys that are going to be the next highway superintendent have to say about doing this? And I'm thinking, well,
Invite all 10 of them in.
I said, right.
3 of them were sitting in there.
And I said, all due respect to these guys, I'm sitting there thinking, you got a guy that's run that department for 18
these
years.
years, right.
That's the guy's brain you want to pick, not the guy that's coming in and is going to take him 18
the guy
years
with
to
the
learn what the old guy.
institutional knowledge, yeah.
So and then Vishnu was like, "Oh, we'll just put it off to next year." And for what? Because he says, "Well, there'll be a different board. Different boards. What is that? So good. And there'll be a different board 2 years after that, and a different board 2 years after that. And if you keep on going, then don't do anything."
Then you'll be like Congress.
Right. I'm
Nothing will
only
happen.
you know what?
True.
I'm glad you said that because it's exactly the type of we laugh, but it's no laughing
Yeah,
matter.
no, it's not. I know.
Because really what it is, and I had a good buddy that was a congressman, and he was just a one-termer, but his first term in there, all they did is, the leadership said, you're the rookie, you got to go, here's your list of people, and you start calling for donations the minute you get in there. You don't do any work. All you do is do solicitations for fundraising for the next term. And what and what does happen is it's not unlike people want term limits, all good and everything else, but if you spend all your time running for re-election, then you're not getting anything done. And my experience is probably the easiest way to get yourself re-elected is don't move fast, don't move at all.
Right.
Because the thing is, every time, if you do something, there's always someone that's going to, may not like the way you do it, or may not like this, what you're doing.
Like, remember, people don't like change because of the fear of the uncertainty it brings them.
Right.
And so when you're changing things up, it's, stop. You're moving too fast.
Right.
Don't do anything.
The
Because
thing,
and then inevitably the changes, you would hope that it's for the good. And the majority of the
but
time
in a way,
it
the
is.
votes are yours to lose, right?
Yeah.
Every time you make, like you're saying, if people disagree, you're going to lose votes.
Yeah,
so they're
right,
afraid to
right,
do
right,
anything.
right.
But I'm going to tell you, the thing is that the idea behind leadership is not you don't do these things and make these decisions by the seat of your pants.
No.
There's a lot of thought that goes into it. And one of the bigger impediments I thought I would have with this whole Depot Square issue is that we have this composting operation up on the hill, which we've been doing for decades. And we finally looked at it and said, well, I have a certain amount of dedicated equipment just to that operation. I got a dump truck, I got a Wildcat machine, which is a big rototiller, I got an aerator, I got two mixing pads, I got the largest piece of equipment the town owns in a front end loader running 5 days a week mixing this stuff. Then I've got property set aside to stockpile this stuff, and then hopefully it passes muster and then can be sent out. But it hasn't, and we've got issues with that and permits. But I've got all this equipment. I've got an engineer and
you're forgetting manpower.
Right. I got my engineer, the guy in charge of the sewer plant. And Mahoney, and I got
We got a dedicated guy up there just to drive a truck up and dump sludge out and then come back out and then go up and mix it.
Yep.
And it goes on and on. So we sit there and go, it costs. We got the
analysis.
bids back. We got $104,000 to truck it away, but we don't have to worry about it. They leave it a 20-yard dumpster or 30-yard dumpster right there to catch the dewatered sludge. It goes away. I free up 2 acres of land. I've got the stormwater all up there on the composting, where the composting takes place, has to be now fed back to the sewer plant, and our sewer plant is at capacity, and it always pushes us over over what we're.
So we've been in we've been in violation of it. And this is where our town engineer came up for us.
We were, I don't know, maybe 100,000 gallons in flow. There was a difference between us issuing sewer permits in this town, which we would have issued this year in March. We had to go ahead to do it. It would have been the first time in 25 years that a sewer permit was issued in the town of Yorktown.
Yeah.
And
Right.
what pushed us just over the edge is exactly the inflow and infiltration from that site. So people would say, oh, I've been
Waiting, right,
for
quarter of a
decades.
century.
Yeah.
Yorktown, you can't hook up.
And,
Right.
and,
What our
and
town
now-
engineer last night, I even told us, and I've had a conversation with her. She says, listen, the rules and regulations are only going to get worse.
Right.
They're not
Right.
going to get
Better.
easier
Yeah,
on you guys.
right. Yes.
And we found out it's more cost effective
Right.
to just
get
get
rid
this
of
out of
it.
here
Yeah,
than
get rid
take
of
it
it. Yeah.
internally.
Right.
And now you take it internally, you have all these other issues, and the rules and regulations are even going to be more stricter
Right.
coming down
More
from
cumbersome.
Albany.
because
Yeah.
this is an EPA jurisdiction. It's not
Right.
DEC,
Right.
not,
Right.
not DEP, it's the
Good point.
EPA.
Right.
It's only going to get worse.
And we've got compliance issues.
One
and
headache.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and if you don't comply, you're in a fine situation. Doesn't make any sense. And I thought that was going to be one of the bigger impediments. And you know, I don't think the board thought 2 seconds about it. Get rid of
Get
it.
rid
We're
of
done.
it, yeah, right.
It's going to save us. It's going to save the sewer district
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
It's going to and manpower. And now I've got all this free land to do something with. And then they say, well, you know, you got to. Well, we want to go slowly because we want to know whether DEP and DEC are going to give us the permits. It's and this will be the fun part as we move ahead, because I'm already seeing it with the dog park. I got the dog park, which is an application by a town agency, which is the Parks and Recs Commission, for a wetlands permit for a fence. The issue the issue before the town board is not should this area be a dog park or not be a dog park. That really is not within our jurisdiction. It's in the
Right.
jurisdiction of the Parks and Recs Commission.
Right.
Parks and Recs Commission is a statutory body.
Right, right,
So they
right.
have that say. That's just what they
We want it here, we want it here.
Yeah,
It has
that-
nothing to
that-
do with the
we-
town board.
yeah.
But you vote on it, don't you?
No.
Oh, you don't? I
No,
thought you
because
voted on that.
we went through this with the Holland Sporting Club. Remember I suggested Holland Sporting Club for ball fields? Parks and Recs Commission comes back and says, how good Grace does that? You know, it's our just call, and who's he? And we've been studying this property for 16 years.
Well, right,
Blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah. So I got
right.
all this. I said, fine. All I did is throw a suggestion out there, come up with a plan. I just don't want the property to stay fallow for another 25 years. Do something with it.
Right.
So Parks and Rec Commission now says that they want this place for the dog park. Well, we should be deferring, just as we all,
Right.
the board decided to defer to them on the Holland Sporting Club, we should defer to them on their decision as to where the dog park goes. All they're coming to the town board for is a wetlands permit to put up a fence,
Right, that's, you said
not
that, yes.
in a wetland, but in a buffer to a wetland.
Right, buffer
and not
zone.
a fully. So that's the whole application before us.
Right.
There's nothing
1
more.
acre fence
right.
on over 500 acres
right,
of land.
right.
Right.
And we don't have, and we have people that are against us.
Yeah.
But it's what's so
Passive
right.
and passive, what is it, passive? And
yeah, well, that's
Passive-aggressive.
well, they,
no, the
passive
recreation.
active, passive active,
Active,
recre-
active
active,
and passive
recreation.
recreation.
Now I'm getting
Y-
dog park. Dog park may be active is usually ball fields, which is based. You know, you're
Right.
having a game. Passive is I walk through it and enjoy it.
Right.
So I'm walking through it, enjoying it with my dog. Is that active? Is that passive? So we get into all that, but we'll have that debate later. My point was, and what I find humorous about it a little bit is that here you got a town agency, and they're exacerbated by the whole
Right.
process.
Yeah.
And I tell them, well, now you know what it feels to be on the other side of the table. All right?
Right.
And this is what you've got to understand.
Right.
You got to go through the process. Everything's got to be properly vetted.
Right.
But when you're constantly asked to go chase your tail and go fetch the Wicked Witch's broom
pun
and come
intended.
back with this,
the dog park.
that becomes annoying.
Right.
So anyhow, we go back to the highway garage. I say, they say, well, you need permits, DEC and DEP. I said, yeah, you need permits. Doesn't mean a permit means that I put my plan in front of them, and they say, you can do this if you do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
The fact that I have to go for a permit doesn't mean that I can't do it. It means I got to be permitted. There's a process to give me the permission to do it based upon conditions.
Right.
But it exposes what the mentality of some people on the board is, which is if you need a permit, that means you can't do it.
Well, you know what?
It's exactly because they turn around. I got people who said,
Not to.
dog park is you need a permit. You're going into a buffer. I said, yeah, you can build in a wetland under our ordinance. They said, no, it's a buffer. I said, yeah, you can. Our ordinance doesn't say you can't stay out of a wetland. You can't stay out of a wetland buffer. It says you need a permit.
Right, to do it, yeah.
But not to even go back down that road and going back to the winery at St. George, is that this board voted 5-0 to allow this guy to go, and he came up in front of us, had to have a site plan amendment, went and did it. Said, go to DEC, go get your permits. He went and got his permits.
Right.
Came back in front of the board, and this board voted 5-0 to allow him to do it.
Right.
Now he comes back up, he says, okay, and we say, oh, here are the 8 things that you need to do. And one of them was to get a wetlands permit. So he came up in front. Now, he's already got it from DEC. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's already got it from the state authorities. He wants to get it from us. The state authorities are okay with this.
Right.
So now he comes up in front of us, and we're telling him to do these 8 things, and he needs a wetlands permit to do these.
Right.
He comes up, should have been a formality. We had previously voted 5-0, 5-0, every single time. And then all of a sudden it switched 3-2, out of the clear blue, out of an administrative wetlands permit. It was supposed to be a formality.
Right.
So why things change in the mid-rail? This is the reason why developers and business owners have had it.
Right.
Have absolutely had it with the town of Yorktown for 16, 18 years.
And
they don't want to come here because they've been strung out and right at the last second pulled back.
Right.
And they're just tired of it.
Right. You know what?
Yeah.
And it's an excellent point, Terrence, because it is that you know, people say, well, you know, what do you guys really do? I said, you know what? The bottom line, it's your attitude that makes the difference. It's the town's attitude. When we, you know, what incensed me so much about everybody says, why are you so aggravated at that vote?
Right.
I'm aggravated at that vote because you didn't allow something. You didn't set something for a hearing to let it be discussed on its merits,
Right.
which to me outrageous.
We shut down 37,000 people in the town of Yorktown to come up and talk about it. 3 board members said, we don't care what you think. We're going to take this amongst ourselves. After they approved it, that's the kick in the teeth.
Right.
After they said, okay, go do it, the guy goes and does it and comes back, and then they say, oh, let's have the public hearing on it. No, we're not even going to have the public
Talking
hearing.
about the winery.
Winery,
just to
yeah,
make sure
and-
people
and-
understand.
But it's I don't mean to bring that up because it's such a
You're-
sore
you're-
subject and this and that.
No,
but
but
that's the antithesis of what's been
but
going
it's-
on in this town for so long, and we changing it, and people don't like it.
Yeah,
Right,
and
right.
but that is the quintessential. That is the essence of the difference, and I'm going to tell you why. Because last night, last night we would, we went. I went on August 6th. We went to the town board meeting and said, "Fine, you guys think about this for a week. Is to go RFPs on this other project." Then what happens in the blogosphere? It gets all, it's a work session and the public's input's not going to be allowed in a work session, and there's this big pull to bring people in, come into the room, fill the room so you can be heard and force them to listen to us on the Depot Square. And this was all promoted by Susan Siegel. To get everybody out, come out there, to give and to lobby the 3 other councilmen to, force Grace to have us heard and blah, blah, blah. All right? And she's ex-supervisor. She knows very well that there are things that are not subject to public hearings and things that are.
Right.
That is
She most certainly does know that.
and this is a decision that you have been elected as a representative body of the town to make. You're the leadership. You should be able to make these decisions.
Right.
Well, Vishnu says, I want the whole room filled. I'm not going to make a decision until I hear from everybody. I want the whole room filled. I want to talk to the people what they think. That's not leadership. Number one, and we don't go to fill the whole room every time we make a decision. We make most of our decisions without any public input. The public input is at the election box.
Right. And this is at a work session.
This is at a work session. This is a guy who sits there, who's been on the board for 4 years, who knows, this is something that's not subject to public hearing and shouldn't be subject to public hearing. This has to be a decision made by you as the elected representative of the town. And he doesn't want to make the decision until he hears from the public. But in an application, it's required to have a public hearing where the public wants to be heard. He decides to vote no to not to listen to the public. And the thing is, and where people get cynical about government is on those types of votes, because it's not about the substance of what you're dealing with, it's about the politics.
Right.
And that's all it is. And the vote against the winery vote was a political vote. It was Nick courting the Democrats, who were all in attendance, Both co-chairs, the Democratic Party, were in attendance at that meeting. Never showed up to, ever showed up at a
4 years
meeting.
I haven't seen it.
In any meeting I've ever been, I've never seen the co-chairs of the Democratic Party show up. They were there. Nick was courting them. He got the Wilson Pakula designation from them a week later. Vishnu is the Democrat, and Dave was courting the conservative endorsement for the highway superintendent position. And that was a vote for political purposes and political purposes only, which cut out what Vishnu says, I want to hear the public. And why I was incensed about it? Because it was wrong, number one. But number two, I have worked tirelessly with Terrence and David at first in changing what I felt was the attitude of this town towards the commercial and business base.
Right.
And that was this whole notion of dragging them through, go get the Wicked Witch's broom, come back, not good enough, go get that one, go get that one, go get that one, do this, do that. And what they do, and the trick is, if you delay and you delay and you delay, and you
I'm
cost the
frustrated, I'm gone.
Yeah, you cost the applicant hundreds of thousands of dollars in soft costs, you will most likely kill the project.
Right.
So you don't have to say no. You never have to vote on it. You just have to delay it, and it'll go away. And that's the kicking of the can down the road. And then then when you come up to re-election, you can play it both ways. Well, I was for it, but they dropped it. All right? Or I was against it, so I got them to leave. You always have your option at the end of the day, and that's what happens.
But getting back to last night, I wasn't around because I had my acting class, which I do have Tuesday. So you're saying they brought in a whole room full of people?
No,
Well,
it didn't happen.
It was out there, but if that was I would say a pathetic effort.
Yeah, it did not materialize. There was an effort to try to fill the room with people to talk about it. I guess with the view towards opposing anything, didn't happen. A matter of fact, the only person that spoke from the public was ex-Supervisor Siegel, who talked about the town hall building and oil tanks, which I don't know had anything to do with the highway garage.
Nothing.
And then talked about Mr. Councilman Murphy's vote on the Granite Knolls project, which is the irony of all ironies, because the Granite Knolls project was purchased by the town for $2.7 million on the eve of the town foreclosing on the property for $800,000 in back taxes.
I remember that.
There were
Yes, I remember that.
$800,000 in back taxes. And the reason why I didn't want to do the phase two was, my question is, what the hell is going on here?
Right.
How come we haven't foreclosed on this? They owe the town $800,000, and we're buying it
Right.
for over $2 million.
Right. And
I said,
the
no
irony,
way.
Right. I remember that.
And they did.
Right. I
and
remember.
she's critical of his vote on Granite Knolls. My recollection was when they voted to buy it, she voted no anyhow.
Not only that, she voted no too for the phase two.
Yeah. And then she goes on and said, well, what's that got to do with the...
Had nothing to do with what we were talking about.
Right.
This was just a matter of coming up and trying to throw gasoline and spark a fire.
Yeah.
And it was, enough.
All right.
Well, anyhow, yeah. But my closing comment on Depot Square is, I knew you were up to an ulterior motive. You're trying to increase property values. You guys were up to something. Anyhow, thanks, Councilman Murphy, for being
Oh, my
with us,
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
tonight. Yeah.
It's great.
And thank you for watching Grace Notes with Town of Yorktown Supervisor Michael Grace. I'm Bruce Hayparb, Chase Media Group. Be sure to watch us next time and every time, because Yorktown is your town. Thank you.